You are watching Co-op for Two, broadcasting live from Champaign, Illinois, Thursday night, 11 p.m., August 31st, 2023. Got my postal badge on here. Today we're playing Case 2 of True Crime Stories. This is a new box of games by a company called Big Potato. Is that right? Big Potato Games, yeah. And it's got an interesting little twist on the cold case game. These are all postal crimes inspired by true stories, true crimes. We played the first case 2 days ago and had really mixed reactions. The quality of the components were good, but the ending questions quizzing us on our understanding of the case were, in some cases, a little bizarre and a little bit disappointing. So, and the first case was labeled at a easy difficulty. Second case ramps up quite a bit, 2 notches up to medium. Third case is 4 notches. So I think the way we're going, we'll probably go through all of these cases in the next few days, and then I'll probably do a review of it. But everyone who played case 1 with me said, hey, I'm willing to play another case, so we'll give it a try. If you saw my comments and my critique of the game, you probably don't need me to say this, but I'll say it anyway. I have no relationship with any of these companies. I buy all these games myself. That gives us the freedom to be negative when we want to be negative. Checking in with the chat, Jonathan has a reminder of his Fair Play reading book club. And this is a good time to remind you that if you guys have any projects you're working on, feel free to mention them in the chat. Tell us what you're doing. If you've got some project, some work of art, anything that you're involved with, any project, we'd all be happy to encourage each other and support each other's projects. So please do feel free to share them. What else should we talk about before we get started? On Sunday, in 3 days, I'll be doing a live channel Q&A, channel update, question and answer session. I'd love it if you could join me for that. I'm happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you won't make it live, or even if you will, and you want to get some questions to me ahead of time, you can post them on the Board Game Geek Guild for this channel. You'll find a link to that on the About page of the YouTube page. Or you could find the channel. I guess YouTube won't let you post comments on that yet. But if you go to the community tab on YouTube, I made a little announcement about it. You could post questions there, or you go to the Facebook page for this channel and post questions in advance there. Or you could even always email me at coopfor2@gmail.com. All those links are on the About page of the YouTube channel page. Anything else to talk about? I guess I want to remind you, I'll talk about it more on the live channel update and Q&A, that starting this month, I will start doing once a month or twice a month game design live streams focused on the high and low detective narrative mystery game that I've been working on. A bunch of people who visit the channel have been helping me with it. And I've got a little bit of announcement to make when we start that. Anyway, sometime in this month, I'll do my first one, and then we'll be doing those every month, at least one a month, maybe 2 a month for the next 5 or 6 months. Okay, shall we get started here? We've got only 4 people in the channel today, so it's like the old times. So, but that's fine. Just makes it a little harder with less people in here. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, so we played case 1, Society of the Black Hand, and that was listed as a training case. But case 2 is not listed as a training case. Let's see what we've got here. Operation Bogart. Travel to the East Coast, where a shady art gallery has been accused of mailing forged pieces of artwork to hundreds of customers across America. Okay, I like this idea of a crime, and we've got we've got a different postal inspector, not the one that was helping us during our training. That was Tara. All right, let's see what we've got here. Dear Inspector, congrats on graduating from the academy with such strong marks. I remember when they put me in front of that Black Hand Mafia case, had me scratching my head for days trying to figure it out. Anyway, you're one of us now. Time to start working on the real stuff. Operation Bogart. Everyone in the art world knows about the Good Plains Gallery. They operate out of warehouses in New Jersey, but use the U.S. mail system to do business all over the states. Most people would call Good Plains a modern-day American success story. We're not so sure. Over the past few months, we've had reports from disgruntled customers claiming they've been ripped off. They all thought they owned an original piece of art by the world-famous painter Nova Oz. Now it looks like they could be cheap knockoffs. Inspector, this is a big-time outfit. If these paintings are indeed fake, we could have a multi-million-dollar fraud case on our hands. Your first mission, find evidence that confirms all 3 paintings are fakes and not originals. I've attached interviews with 3 customers along with pictures of their paintings. Once you think you've got something, head over to Operation Bogart and we'll see how it looks. All right, so we've got interviews with customers, and we've got some other things. We've got 4 little paper clipped packets, and then we have a file that we're not supposed to open and another file that we're not supposed to open. So 2 locked files and 4 pieces of evidence. We're allowed to read these in any order, but let's just take a look at what we got. Looks like the first packet is just interviews with 3 people. And then we've got a museum, the Good Plains Gallery, and Minerva Bloom's office, whoever she is. Okay. So lots of evidence. Let's start, I guess, with the interviews here. We'll just go through these in order, I guess. We have no reason to go in any different way. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Interview 1 with Drew Lee, a retired U.S. Marine from Fort Worth, Texas. He received an original painting, Home at Last, from a friend. Senior Inspector Foreman, beginning interview with Mr. Drew Lee, February 24th, 1991. Drew Lee, thank you for speaking with me. Senior Inspector Foreman, the thanks are all mine, Mr. Lee. Why don't you start by telling me how you acquired this painting? So a few years ago, a good buddy of mine gets into some gambling trouble. Nothing illegal, just a bit of debt he couldn't pay. I helped him out, and he paid me back with this painting. How much we talking here? Well, I bailed him out for around $2,000, but he said this was a 1978 original and worth at least double. I heard a bit about Nova Oz, knew he was kind of a big deal, so I went for it. Any idea how he got hold of a 1978 original? I sure do. Bought it off the Good Plains Gallery a few years before. Been sitting in USPS wrapping ever since. Said it was his big investment. Well, sounds like it didn't go to plan. Nope. It became my big investment instead. That thing was supposed to be a college fund for my daughter. Now I'm feeling like a chump. How do you mean? Well, I took it to an appraiser, didn't I? But he can't make his mind up about it. Says something feels off about it. My buddy doesn't have the money to pay me back, so the way I see it, good planes are the ones that owe me. Senior Inspector Foreman, you just might be right. Let's speak soon. Okay. So that's our interview with Drew, and here's his painting. Okay, so what have we got here? It's a painting by someone named Nova Oz. I have no idea. That's got to be a fake name. We don't know anything about it. Do we know? We don't know what's the age of it. We don't know anything about it. That's the picture. I'm sure we'll have reason to look at that again in the future. I suppose one clue might be how bad the framing is. Like it looks, this little join here doesn't look very professional. John says supposed to be from 1978. Is that what we were told in the beginning? Let's see. Famous painter Nova Oz. This was a 1978 original. Okay, so Jonathan's right. 1978 is when this is supposed to be from. I don't like this framing job. Like especially here, you can see at this corner, it looks poor. But who knows? And then there's a signature we might be able to check against something. All right, so that's Drew Lee's copy. Now let's look at our next interview with Richard Baker, a Canadian in his mid-60s. He purchased an original painting, A Union, in 1988. Inspector Foreman. Beginning interview with Mr. Richard Baker, February 18th, 1991. Those Good Plains gangsters ripped me off, and I won't stand for it. Slow down. Start from the beginning. Oh, it was a few years back. Me and my ex-wife were on our honeymoon in Hawaii. We'd had a bit of rum to drink and stumbled into the Good Plains Gallery on the island. Sales assistant and her got talking. I ended up buying it for her, and a few weeks later it turned up in the mail. Quite the gentleman. How much did it set you back? A little over $8,000. And for what? She looked at it for a few minutes. And 3 months later, poof, she's gone. Gone, sir? That she-devil divorced me. Took half everything I had. You know the funniest part? I'm the one who got stuck with the goddamn painting. And you don't much like the painting. Are you kidding? I took that thing to an appraiser first chance I got. Couldn't stand seeing it every day. What did they say? So get this. The guy said something just didn't feel right about it. Can you believe that? You know what, Mr. Baker? Yes, I can. We'll be in touch soon. I want my damn money. Okay. Here's the painting that he bought for his wife who divorced him right away. What have we got here? Framing job looks a lot better. And we've got a signature that looks completely different from the other painting. I mean, surely one of these has got to be wrong with that signature, maybe both. Framing job looks a lot better here. seem to use the same style of framing, but boy, those signatures are completely different. And this one is supposed to be from... This one doesn't say when it was from. Unless I'm forgetting. He paid $8,000 for it. All right, that's his. And then lastly, our third customer is telephone interview with Victoria Browning on behalf of her mother, Phyllis Browning. She was sold an original painting called Cataclysm. Okay, again, a different signature. Beginning interview with Miss Victoria Browning, February 21st, 1991. Victoria Browning. That's Mrs. Browning. Thank you very much. So sorry, Mrs. Browning. Can you tell me a bit about your experience with Good Plains Gallery? My experience? Ha! This is my mother's mess. I'm just here to make things right. Okay then, what happened? So she received this flyer in the mail, these Good Plains Gallery guys talking about how art is some great investment. She calls the number, and before you know it, she's giving them her credit card details. I mean, come on. I'm guessing a painting turned up soon after that. Darn right. A few weeks later, a package arrives in the mail with her brand new investment. When I found out what happened, I went bananas, called up the gallery right away. And what'd they say? Well, they sure had a lot to say for themselves, mostly about a no-refund policy. Here's the thing, though. I got a knack for reading people, and the guy I spoke to sounded shadier than a palm tree. I don't know much about art, but I'd bet my left arm that this painting my mom got hustled into buying is next to worthless. Well, we'll have to see about that. Thanks for your time, Mrs. Browning. We'll be in touch. Is it that nice man from the art gallery again, dear? Not now, Mom. Okay, so that was their case number 3, Cataclysm, yet a third signature. That woman didn't even bring it to an appraiser. She just knew it was off. All right, so if we stack up these signatures, we can see they are all quite different. All completely different. They're not even, I mean, when you forge stuff, don't you have a picture of the signature nearby? You know, they're not even making any attempt to make these look real. Well, maybe one of them is real for all we know. Home at last, a union in Cataclysm. Okay, so there are interviews. It doesn't feel like there's any clues there. Just a little bit of story. But we do have more evidence. Look at this. Okay, it's a poster for the Good Plains Gallery. It's printed on heavy linen textured stock. This is a very nice printing. In fact, this is just about the best quality paper I've ever seen in a cold case game. They really spent some money here, and you could put this on your wall and people would just think it's a real gallery showing. Good Plains Gallery, 119 Broadway, West Milford, New Jersey. This month in the spotlight, Nova Oz, a complete collection spanning over 30 years. So 30 years? I don't know. Maybe he changed his signature. Good Plains guarantee. Okay, here's the guarantee. One-of-a-kind art. Every piece is totally unique, coming straight from the original artist, delivered to your door. All purchases are sent first class and fully insured through the U.S. Postal Service. Now, I am on record as saying, like, all of these companies that put in things like into these boxes, like Hunt a Killer, that has like hats and stuff, like that is of no interest to me. But like a nice thing that you could put on your wall to remind you of a case, that I do like. So like if we fell in love with this case, this would be a nice thing to put on the wall to remind you. All right. Again, this doesn't feel like a clue, but rather just a piece of ephemera, just a piece to set the tone of the case. All right, let's look at what else we've got. And let's remember our mission here. Our mission is confirm all three are fake. All right, so what have we got? The Dawn Ceremony Museum, the Good Plains Gallery, and Minerva Bloom's office. We don't know who those people are. I think maybe we start with the gallery. Jonathan has a point. He says, the poster says the gallery's in New Jersey, but Richard said the gallery was in Hawaii. I think he said he went to a gallery in Hawaii, so that they have different branches, and that's what Antina is saying. That's how I read it too, that their main warehouse is in New Jersey, but that they may have branches all over. We're going to find out, though. Okay, Good Plains Gallery. Let's take a look. It could be someone pretending to be the Good Plains Gallery. That would be another option. Okay, let's see. So here's the gallery full of hipster types. Speaking of hipster types, I think I'm going to start a new webpage or a YouTube channel called Cringe Watching that is all about finding channels you can sort of cringe watch. And I found a new one called SOS119, University of Pennsylvania Sociology class broadcasting live. And the professor there is really trying hard to fit in with the kids, calling them bro and everything. It's really a little awkward, but okay. That's neither here nor there. Okay, so here's our gallery. Again, we've seen a bunch of these pictures in our previous case. They were always for flavor, not with any clues. So this is probably of that same variety. Let's see what we've got. Got another picture of someone in conversation. Okay, here's the Good Plains Gallery on their nice letterhead. I like it. 119. Well, that's interesting. So here's 116 Broadway Gallery, and here's 119 Broadway. So just down the block. And we've got an actual email that we may want to write to. In fact, we probably do want to write to that. Okay, let's see what we've got. Dear Inspector, we appreciate you bringing this to our attention, but we are already well aware of the accusations being made against us. The Good Plains Gallery is a family business that has spanned generations. We operate all across the country and fulfill hundreds of orders every single month. Each of these orders is treated with the utmost care and precision. We have a huge amount of respect for our customers, our product, and the world of art in general. As for Nova Oz, he was always very fond of us. I've attached a picture of both of us on the day he presented the gallery with this 1976 classic. In short, we fundamentally deny all allegations of wrongdoing and have no further comment on the matter. L. Ardell, Linus Ardell. Okay, so here he is, Nova Oz, with this guy's writing to us, Linus Ardell. Now, which one would you think is Linus Ardell and which one is the gallery owner? I suspect we're going to get information to help us disambiguate them eventually, but I think it's an interesting psychological question. Psychological? I'm not sure psychological is the right word, but it is an interesting question. How would you reason about it? If you had to guess which one of these was the artist, how would you think about it? We've got a guy standing in front of the painting. That might make you suggest it's him. He's dressed in artistic clothing compared to this guy in a suit. That might make you also think that it's him. They're both reasonably similar age. So I guess you'd have to guess that it's this guy is the artist, right? Wearing his glasses. Okay. There is a Netflix documentary. The postcode is different too from right across the street. Is that true? No, it's not. They're the same postcodes. 07840, 07840. Same postcodes. So it wouldn't be crazy that they've got an office nearby, 3 doors down, or maybe even just next door. All right, now we should email this guy a bit different. They are different. 07480, 07840. Really? Am I being dyslexic and reading it? 07480, 07840. You're right, they are different. Why would you do that? You're right, though. The 8 and the 4 are transposed. Boy, that's sloppy on my part. Good catch. Why on earth would you put a fake postal code? Like, one of those is clearly wrong. But one of them, if you wrote to them, it wouldn't get delivered. So that's very weird. Maybe they're just sloppy. Maybe the scam is sloppy. But even if you were running a scam, I don't know how you benefit from that. Okay. 1976 classic. So it sounds like our artist is dead. Linus Arndau. Okay. Let's move along. Here's the Dawn Ceremony Museum. The Dawn Ceremony Museum. Never heard of that. Dawn Ceremony Museum, 9498 Cactus Drive, New York, New York 10016. Opening hours 10 to 5. My dear Inspector, thank you ever so much for writing to us. My beloved museum has been flourishing for years. In fact, we'll soon be approaching our jade anniversary, should you be so kind as to visit. Alas, in all my years, I've rarely heard of anything so ghastly as this. To counterfeit an artist's work for personal gain, and to make matters worse, the work of the great Nova Oz. Good heavens, the very notion brings me to illness. Illness, I say. In my efforts to help, I've stumbled upon a recent catalog of Nova's work, curated by our very own curators. I've also attached the latest excerpt from our museum's short magazine. I've no doubt you will enjoy it. It's a wonderful read. If there's any assistance my museum can offer, I implore you to contact me. Forever in eternity, Ivory Quartz, the museum director. Okay, so we contacted this museum that's reputable for some information on Nova Oz. What is the Netflix documentary I'm thinking of? It came out in the last year or two. It's very good. It's a documentary about an art forger. It's a real study of the art world, and in particular, one gallery that got wrapped up in it. Does anyone know that documentary I'm thinking of? I definitely recommend it. I'd love if someone can get on Netflix and try to find it. It's absolutely worth watching. Okay. So she's attached a museum magazine and a catalog. Let's see what we've got. Okay. Here's the catalog, and here's the museum. Here's the magazine excerpt. I really appreciate the effort they've put into these documents. The Dawn Ceremony Museum presents the extraordinary canvases of Nova Oz, an exploration into the mind of one of our most celebrated surrealistic painters, March 18 to June 2nd, 1990. So we've got some purchases of art that happened in... We might want to write down the dates they've purchased, because if they've purchased the art and then it's showing in 1990 and they purchased it beforehand, that would be a clue that it's a fake. Okay, so a few years ago, a good buddy of mine gets into some trouble. This was in 1991. And then this guy bought it a few years before 1991. And then she bought it doesn't really say her, but so we're talking probably before 1990 for most of these people that they bought their paintings. Okay, let's see. So look at that. He's signing his name very differently. If these are real paintings by this guy, he actually signed his name differently. 1960. There's his signature. If these are real, of course, these might not be real. Here's 1962 signature. Completely different. 1973, completely different signature. 1977, again, very different. Oil on canvas, oil on canvas, oil on canvas, watercolor. Okay, here's another oil on canvas, 1978, completely different signature. 1980, doesn't even sign his first name. Looks like his writing is getting worse as he gets older. 1962. 1966. Completely signed differently every single time. So that looks like those signatures are not going to help us that much. They're all signed in different colors. Well, we got more here. 1980. What, did he not even sign this one? I don't even see a signature on that one. Same thing here with this 81. No signature at all. Here's a 1968. We might want to check if he signs them. Well, that looks very familiar, doesn't it? A union and a union. Okay, so we've actually got a case here of they're showing the painting that this person bought. Okay, so this is important here. So first of all, the forger, we've now learned, is actually doing a good job of forging. They have forged the signature properly. We might look for differences in the painting, but the forger actually looks like they've done a pretty good job. The real catch, however, is that a union was the painting that was purchased by Drew. I'm pretty sure. Okay. Oops. Let me get rid of these. Okay. So let's make sure that I haven't misfiled these. A few years ago, he bought it from Good Plains a few years back, and it's been sitting in USPS wrapping for years. So this showing is 1990. So a few years back from 91 meant this painting was in this guy's possession before this showing. So that's our first clue that this painting is fake. I mean, this one could be fake too. One of these is fake though. But I think if we're to trust this gallery, then that's our proof that that painting is fake. What a collection of all the work Nova has produced. These are some of my favorites. My heart weeps in a good way. And what about Cataclysm? Was that, did I skip over that? No. So one of them is in this brochure, and they couldn't be showing that at the same time this guy had it. So there's our suggestion that one of them is fake. Let's see what the chat says. I think Lee purchased Home at the Lake. It was Richard that purchased a Union. Is that right? You're right. Home at Last was our first one, I guess. That seems... All right, let's get these right. Okay, a Union, Cataclysm, Home at Last. You're right. Okay, sorry. Let's make sure this date, let's make sure we still have that date. Okay, a few years back, they were in a gallery. So same problem though, same thing. These are all recent enough, but okay, good. So this guy's gonna get his money back, I guess. All right, thank you for telling me that. I guess I should have paid more attention to that. All right, but he still bought it a few years back, which puts it before 1990. So that's that. All right, let's take a look at this. The life and death of Nova Oz. Okay, so we now have our confirmation about which one he was here. There he is. The life and death of Nova Oz, surrealist, innovator, enigma. The date is May 11th, 1912. It's a cold, stormy night in the Greek town of Kalambaka. The locals close their windows and lock their doors. They do not know what the storm brings, or should I say who. At the stroke of midnight, Gregorius von Zoa was born. At the age of 13, he would dispose of his first name for good, keeping only an anagram of his family name. Von Zoa became Nova Oz, and Nova Oz became a legend. Traveling to Madrid, he began an affair with the artistic world of surrealism. His paintings shocked his art school professors. With every new piece, he appeared to be conquering untold heights. They knew, all of them, that they were witnessing a master at work. However, no matter how high he reached, Nova would never sit still for long. In fact, one of his most defining traits up to the very end was that he would never do anything the same way twice. His clothes, his signature, even his paintbrushes. Once they'd been used, they were never seen again. Over the years, his painting style continued to become more and more ferocious. Even in old age, he would continue to dazzle fans and silence critics with brave new approaches to the art world. On August 28, 1981, Nova put down his paintbrush for the very last time. Storm had ended, but it left a powerful impression. Okay, so we've got his death, August 28th, 1981, and we're told he kept changing his style. I wonder if this will help us rule out one of these paintings as well. Let's just take another look at this. 6260. So in 1960, 62, he's drawing, what would you call them? Less abstract. Let's see. 73, he went through this period with black backgrounds. 78, he's doing 78 to 80, he's doing these gray and reds. So here he is back in 62. 62 is a person. 62, 66. Looks like they were still in that period. Then in the 80s, 1980, 1980, 1981. These are sort of red abstract. Here's 68. Back in the 60s, he's still doing his things like this. That's a 66. That's a little different. Birds, birds and people, people and birds. So that matches that. And animals and stuff. So I guess what I'm trying to say is look at this style in the 80s, how he turned to this abstract stuff. So what about our abstract painting here? This looks like it would have been done during this period. During this period, right? So do we know when this was supposed to have been done? Let's see. Doesn't even say when this painting was supposed to have been done. So that's not going to help us. Okay, I thought it might, but apparently not. All right, and then our article here is continuing. Who is Ivory Quartz, the man behind it all? This is the curator at the museum we wrote to. Just who is Ivory Quartz, the man behind it all? Let's read this and then I'll catch up on the chat. As the anniversary of the dawn ceremony draws near, we take a moment to look at the fascinating life of its founder, Ivory Quartz. The New York local, Ivory's past has always been somewhat shrouded in mystery, and that seems to be how he likes it. There are two things we know for sure: that he was impassioned by painting ever since he was young, and secondly, that he opened the Dawn Ceremony Museum almost 20 years ago as part of the two-person all-seeing collective. But what happened to them is another mystery altogether. Two-person collective, what happened to them is another mystery. Over the years, he's dedicated his life to the museum, its visitors, and the work within. The collective may have disbanded long ago, but it seems that Ivory isn't going anywhere soon. Ivory Quartz's full autobiography is available at the Dawn Ceremony gift shop. Okay. Let's see. Made you look a true story about fake art. That might be it. That might be it. Made you look. I'll know if I check it out. If one of the signatures is the same, it means that he didn't paint it. The signature on the second painting is like the one in one of our paintings, which means ours is a fake. I see what you're saying. He didn't seem to sign during the black background period, so maybe any signature is a sign of forgery. Okay, these are all great points, so let me recap them. I noticed that this is during his abstract period, and Jonathan is pointing out that during this fully abstract period, when he did these fully abstract ones, it seems like he wasn't even signing them at all. So it is a little odd that he signed this one. Not definitive proof, but it is odd. And then Antina was saying, Well, if he never signed his signature the same, and so if we find for these two that one of our signatures is reused, then that would be a sign that it's fake. Now, it would be very unusual to, the way he copied this one was he just copied the whole painting, the forger, and copied the signature. So you might expect the same would happen for these. This would be this you would expect is a real copy of another existing painting. So I wouldn't expect to find this signature wrong, because this painting really probably was signed, and so they signed it. But this is a great case where someone's like, let's just make a new abstract painting, pretend it's a new painting from him. And then they felt compelled to sign his name so that they could sell it. So I think this would be a great candidate for finding another painting with the same signature. Let's look for one with this tiny little Z. Okay. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. All right, well, we're out of luck there. We have no indication of this signature. I suppose while we're at it, we can look for this one. Okay, what have we got here to look for? No serifs and a big O and a little Z at an angle. Let's see if we can't find that one. No, 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 no. No, no. Nope. 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 No, that's not the same. Close. But it's not the same. All right, so no signatures for our other two on the gallery paintings. But I do like Jonathan's theory that he wasn't signing these pure abstracts. So why would he sign that other one? All right, let's look at the back of this. A jubilee to celebrate the jade anniversary of the Dawn Ceremony Museum, to be held inside the east wing of the museum on May 16th. Together we celebrate the birth of the Dawn Ceremony Museum. We will be joined by original founder Ivory Quartz, amongst other special guests. To attend, please RSVP at your earliest convenience by emailing Ivory Quartz Dawn. That's a second email address. I'm going to write down that we've got 2 email addresses. And the gallery. So we want to email them just for the fun of it. And we've got some adverts here. Ergon stock for all your paper and canvas needs. Looking for a quality printing at a reasonable price? You'll get what you need with Ergon. No job is too big or too small. Get in touch. Okay, so we've got a website address that we might want to check out. Maybe they're selling old paper to print on. Art tutoring available. Looking to shake loose the shackles and unleash the inner artist within? We can help. Art classes at the Dawn Ceremony Museum. 9498 Cactus Drive. Cactus Drive. Paint aplenty, oil and acrylic, graphite and chalk, pigments and powders, whatever your desire. You'll find it at Paint Aplenty. And then Frames by Agatha, another email address. Give your wonderful art the home it deserves. With over 30 years experience and hundreds of different styles to choose from. Custom designs available on request. Oh, it's a third email address. So interesting. All right. We've got What have we got? All right, so we've got one more paper clip of evidence here for Minerva Bloom, who we don't know who she is. Okay, but I like her art style. Okay, there's Minerva Bloom. And here she is writing to us. Dear Inspector, thank you for reaching out to me. It hurts my soul to think of Nova's work being exploited for evil, especially when you consider all the beauty he brought into the world. My name is Minerva Bloom. You might call me an art collector, but I've always been more interested in the artists themselves, especially Nova Oz. We met back in 1973 when I commissioned an original piece from him. He even agreed to meet me in person the day it was finished. Just look at how handsome he is. Anyway, in the recent months, I happen to have published what I consider to be my magnum opus. It's an anthology of every major artist in the world. Surprisingly, very few authors have covered these obscure artists in detail. I know, I was shocked as well. Given your investigation, I think you might find this page on Nova Oz quite intriguing. In fact, I think you'll find the entire book intriguing. Perhaps you should buy a copy for the Postal Inspection Office when it's released. Best wishes, Minerva. Minerva Bloom. Okay. So she's given us a little excerpt from her book, and here's the photo that she had taken of the piece of work she had commissioned by him. Does she give us a date? 1973. So 1973 puts it in this period. Does it look like it's in that period? Kind of, a little bit. And there's the signature. He signed it. Looks like all caps printed with a big underline underneath it. All right. And there he is again. Not wearing glasses this time. With the gold frame. He seems to like these gold frames. In fact, every picture of him we've seen, it's in a gold frame. Okay, and what is she writing about? Nova Oz, a surrealist with an eye for the uncanny and a mustache for the books. Perhaps one of my favorite artists in this anthology, I know I've said it a lot, but this time I mean it, is Nova Oz, the famous surrealist painter from Greece. Known for his beautifully bizarre paintings, Nova is the perfect example of an artist who embodies the style that he paints with. His paintings are striking, seductive, and sometimes scary, and if you look at his picture, you could easily say the same things about him too. As you can probably tell, Nova Oz is an eccentric. However, for a man with such a huge personality, very little is actually known about him. He works out of his suburban garden home and very rarely makes any appearance at public events. Indeed, I myself once commissioned a piece from him and had to go and pick it up myself. Leader of Nobody, 1978. Okay, here's yet a new signature, 1978 period. Does that match with our Leader of Nobody, 1978? And that's the right signature. So she's loaned it out to the gallery for showing. Nothing surprising about that. Peculiarities. Nova was an artist who often changed his style, everything from his paintings to his fashion style, even the way he signed his own name. It's a well-known fact that Nova Oz never signed his name in the same way twice. Below, I've collected a few examples of signatures throughout his most famous works. As you can see, each has a distinct style of its own. Moment, a calm sea, distorted dreams, perspective of pleasure, a union, and honesty or clarity. Okay, so a union, we have a union we've already looked at. So that is the right signature for a union. I mean, at least on first glance, but we've already seen it and copied it, so there's no surprise there. But do we have any of our other paintings with a copy? Not that one. That one's not used. What about this one? Has this been reused? No, not really. However, one thing to think about, perhaps, so it's a little surprising that we haven't caught a reuse of one of our signatures. I wonder if we need to consider the fact that this gallery could have fakes in it. There's a calm sea, that looks right. Perspective of pleasure is another one in the gallery. That looks right. Leader of nobody is right. Moment looks right. Distorted dreams looks right. Honesty or clarity looks right. So everything that's showing in this gallery looks right. Coming up next, an artist who liked to paint soup cans and collected mummified feet. I think you can guess who it is. Does everyone know who this is? The artist who painted soup cans? Andy Warhol is right. Andy Warhol, who helped form one of my favorite bands. That's your second trivia question. What is the band that Andy Warhol created? Very eccentric artist in New York City. He made movies. Velvet Underground, that's right. Lou Reed and the Velvet Underground. All right. So what's fascinating now is for the second time, the same thing was true in our first case. We have now looked at everything. We found one way to get rid of one person, but we think one way to cast doubt on one of the paintings. The other two, I suppose the other one, we think it shouldn't have a signature. And the third one, Home at Last, we don't know how to rule it out yet. But we do have websites and emails we can send. We're going to take a break now in a second. But it has to be said, like, the amount of work that went into making this feel different and giving us the atmosphere and the flavor of being in this art world and forgery is really good, unique. So far, very engaging. I'm loving it. We're going to have to go to these websites, check it out. It's probably going to look like one of these is forged based on the framing, but we'll find out. I'll see you in 8 minutes. Okay, we're back. Someone in the channel has mentioned a company and a game, and I realized I do actually have one of their games. Culinario Mortale. These are by different companies. They're all in the same genre here. These are dinner party mystery games. I've played quite a few of these with, well, I shouldn't say quite a few, but I have a lot. I've got another half dozen beyond these. But they're a very different kind of game. They're not the games we play on the channel. They're games meant to be played with a group at a party while you're having dinner. They're almost all phrased, set up as you serve dinner, you go through a couple of acts, and one of your guests at the party is going to be the murderer in the end. And they typically come with invitations that you send out. They can be quite fun. It's a very different experience. It's not something we could play on the channel, though it's something I could certainly review on the channel. They've been hit or miss with my groups, but everyone does like to come over and get together and play and eat and have a meal. We have a formal meal. I get out my nice dishes. It is very interesting to think about how they're designed. They tend to be, this is a very old genre, by the way. They've been making these since the 70s and 80s. Some of them come with a little record or cassette that you're meant to play to introduce the case. They're good. They use some tricks and techniques to make them work. Some are replayable, some aren't. Anyway, we can have maybe we'll do a video review of them at some point. Okay, I did want to say that in the channel, the fluffy bunny person was right about the Netflix documentary, and I think we'll watch the trailer together to help us get in the spirit here. Let's see if I can bring it up.
An $80 million scandal has the art world up in
I don't know why
arms
it won't
tonight.
go full screen.
That sold for tens of millions of dollars.
The gallery involves
You can hear
the
this,
sale of
yeah.
over 30 fakes.
It takes more than a really talented con man to pull off a forgery of this magnitude.
I guess I don't need to hear it. I wouldn't mind if this would go full screen now. Like, why are you having to watch this play button and everything?
Approximately a dozen different works.
I don't understand
Comes
that.
in off the street with supposed masterpieces in the trunk of her car.
Motherwell, Jackson Pollock,
Rothko.
All of them from this same mysterious wealthy collector, Mr.
I
X,
think
who
it's
was from the
sending it to
Philippines.
you.
His collector was a Swiss collector. He didn't want his name to be disclosed.
Oh yes, it had changed from the Philippines to Switzerland.
You couldn't make this stuff up. It was incredible.
An absolutely bizarre story for any dealer to accept.
It's a business.
These works went into the greatest museums in the world.
But there was a point where questions were coming up.
The analysts found that a yellow paint used in the Pollock hadn't been available until 1970. Jackson Pollock died in a car crash in 1956.
Either the paintings are all real or they're all fake.
We all know how that story turned out.
The paintings looked really, really good.
They fooled a lot of people.
The real is on the right. It's not easy.
The one on the right is real.
What surprised you about this case?
It surprised me that the paintings were being made in Queens by a math professor.
These fakes were painted by
Clearly,
an
I
unknown
have to
Chinese
figure
artist
out
in
how
the
to
garage of his home. I mean, it was just
play these YouTube on full screen. Although this will get me a copyright strike and all that. The joke is on them though, because what they do when you play some audio
And he took almost
that's
all the money.
someone else owns, they just say you can't monetize this video, but the joke's on them because none of the videos are monetized.
Okay, he doesn't like that question.
All right, we'll stop it right here if we can, given that this whole system of buttons is not working. It's not, doesn't work, huh? Okay. All right, so there you have it. Made You Look, a true story about fake art. Definitely recommended, even though the YouTube won't play it properly. All right, back to our cases. So we've got one piece of art that we're fairly sure we can rule out as fake because this guy had it in his possession during the time that the real one was being shown. Now, we didn't really spend too much time looking for differences, and I wonder if it would suit us, if we would be advised to actually look for differences. Can we get a telltale sign of this forger? Does anything jump out at you as being a sign of forgery, or is, well, I mean, this would suggest we're dealing with a fairly skilled forger, because that looks pretty darn realistically copied, huh? In fact, it looks to me like if you look at the original, this forger is actually added, because the original, assuming this is the original, doesn't, you can see the distance here between this head and the end, and this is bigger. Like they've actually made it bigger rather than smaller. That's odd. Nothing else jumps out at me though. Okay, so, but we think there's good reason to believe, well, we know you can't both be showing it and have bought it years before the showing. So there's that one. We've got some clues that we don't know how to make any use of, but we do have a bunch of email addresses and websites. So let us collect them all and start contacting these people. All right, so what do we have? Where's our list? All right, let's make our list of things we can, online stuff we can contact. We have Linus Ardell, who is working at the Good Plains Gallery, who runs it. We can email him. All right, what else do we have? Okay. We also have the email for Ivory Quartz. We have the website for Ergon Stock. We have the email for Frames by Agatha. So 1, 2, 3 emails. One website. Was there anything else? All right, so I guess these two are our two sources of stuff. Let's start by going to this website. Okay. So, ErgonStock.com. ERGONE stock. GON. bstock.com. Unleash your creativity with Aragon Stock. Your one-stop shop for all your paper printing needs. Our premium quality paper and cutting-edge printing technology ensure that your projects will look professional and polished every time. From business cards to flyers, brochures to posters, our versatile paper stocks and wide variety of finishing options give you the freedom to create the perfect design that matches your brand's aesthetic. And with our fast turnaround times and affordable prices, you can rest assured your project will be completed on time and on budget. Based in New Jersey. Are we going to find out that our gallery, our suspicious Good Plains gallery uses them? Okay, so we've got a link we can click, versatile paper stocks. I guess this is the link we can click. No? Doesn't look like we can actually click this. All right. So we don't have an address. We've just got a clue that they're in New Jersey. That's it. It's just this image here. There's nothing else to do. Let's make sure the desktop site's not different. No, nothing to do here. Just a little 1975 based in New Jersey. All right. Well, that's that. What is the game's, Jonathan asks, what is the game say our current objective? The game says our current objective is to find evidence that all 3 paintings are forgeries. Find evidence that confirms all 3 paintings are fakes. I guess it's time to send some emails out. But I'm not sure. I guess we're just going to touch base. That's kind of strange. All right, well, let's try to touch base with some of these people. I wonder if we shouldn't just like send a group email. Let's see. So this was our yesterday's case. All right. Let's send some emails here. Okay, we're going to start with an email to Linus Ardell. Linus Ardell at gmail.com. And what are we going to ask him? This is a kind of a weird situation here. Nova Oz inquiry. Okay, so let's see. Greetings. We are live on YouTube, so please respond ASAP. First, let's just say we have a couple of questions. First, what is your address? What is your address and zip code? Let me see 2 different addresses listed. It's kind of sus. Okay, what's our second question? Second, can you tell us the Oz paintings you have sold in the last few years? Okay. Anything else you want? I guess let's just establish a communication with this person. Maybe we should say, try to get them. Maybe we need to lure them in here. Yes, I'm interested in buying a Nova Oz original if you have any left. My budget is about 40,000. Maybe that'll get him to reply to the email. All right. Next up, you guys should be making suggestions of what you'd like us to say. Okay, so now we're gonna email ivorycourtstone@gmail.com. We're gonna email the person who runs this museum. I don't like how any of this works, but okay. Subject, Nova Oz inquiry. Okay, first off, love the gallery, love the museum. Okay, I gotta butter them up a little bit. Okay, next up, a couple of quick questions for you. Let's lure him in. I'd like to promote your museum on my YouTube channel. All right. Now we ask him the questions. Okay. Can you tell me who the other person was in your... I'm curious about this thing. He was in a collective, two-person collective. Let's see if he answers that one. And then I guess we're going to say we have a couple of Nova Oz paintings. We are trying to authenticate. Do you have any suggestions how we might do so? Any other questions? Should we double check none of the signatures from Home at West don't match any of the provided signatures from the book page? Yeah, it's a reasonable question. I think we should let's just start establishing communications. Do you have any more Nova art paintings or signatures we could compare? Okay, let's just... Thanks in advance. Okay, let's try to get some of these emails out the door. Okay, looks like we've got a reply from Linus. Before we check that, I want to get all these people responding, and then we'll move on. Okay, so the frame woman, this seems like this is going to be a useful one for us. All right, let me write 2 frames by Agatha here. Frames by Agatha. Mail.com. Actually, this time I think we're maybe more interested in the gallery inquiry. Good Plains Gallery inquiry. Okay. Dear Agatha, we're doing a postal investigation. Sorry, that would be a lie. We shouldn't say this. We're helping with a postal investigation, and I'm sure you don't want to get caught up in it. Can you let us know any jobs you might have done for the Good Plains Gallery? Specifically, whoa, what's happening? Keyboard went crazy. Guess you don't need to see that, do you? Specifically, have you done any framing of work by Nova Oz? Any work for the Dawn Ceremony Museum? Thank you in advance. Okay, so we've sent 3 emails. We've gotten 2 replies back. I hope I asked her about framing. Okay, so I think those are our 3 emails. Now, it does seem very odd that we couldn't make use of these signatures. I thought for sure we were going to find that one of them was in a book. Although we might be able to rule this one out for the reason that Jonathan came up with, that it shouldn't be signed. That would just leave us with this one. All right, I guess we should look at our emails. All right, let's see. Let's start with Linus, what he says. This is the owner of the Good Plains Gallery. Thank you for emailing the Good Plains Gallery. I'm afraid we are not currently taking any bookings. Please try again at a later time. Linus. Painting in the spotlight is reflection. Okay, and then the game is same of course. Okay, so we have a painting in the spotlight they're trying to sell. And that painting looks familiar. Where have we seen that? Where have we seen that painting? I know we've seen it. It's not in the brochure. It's not. It's this one. So we're told about this painting. I think that's going to be one of our signatures, actually. Is that this signature? I think it is. I think we caught him reusing a signature. Okay, so we've got a reuse of a signature right here. That signature is that signature. Now, we know that either the gallery's signature on its email signature or the signature on the painting they sold was a forgery. I'm guessing that's enough. Don't you think, to suggest it's a forgery? Reflection. Actually, no, reflection, we don't have a... All right, so we know that this one and the one in his email signature are using the same signature. We know one or both is a forgery. If you had to guess, it would be the one they sent out. We don't really have a way to say, though, right? Jonathan says, Jesse, do you think originally the designers were hoping we would email specifically about this painting and the signature since it was covered up? Maybe had to make it more generic response. I don't think so, because that painting is only covered up in why have I lost my place? There's no reason for us to think that this painting here on the email is going to be related to the Good Plains Gallery, right? Because this photo here, this photo here is from, not from the, oh yes, you're right, it is. It is from the Good Plains Gallery. A huge amount of respect. He always fond of us. I attached a picture of us both on the day he presented the gallery. Ah, okay. So this is a real picture with the artist. They look like they're arguing. So maybe Jonathan's right. Maybe they expected us to ask for this, but it doesn't matter. We are now being shown the email of this famous painting that we know they wouldn't have forged the signature on this painting because this one was actually real. And there are other photos of it floating around. So they wouldn't have forged that one, but they would have forged the one that they sent out. Okay, so there we have proof now that this is a forgery. Okay, that's 2 out of 3 that I feel very confident we've figured out are forgeries, proven why they're forgeries. Okay, so let's go back to our emails and see if we've got, that was enough for fixing that. Now let's see if we can get more information from one of our other people. We got Agatha, Ivory Quartz. Okay, so the next person we emailed was the museum curator, Ivory Quartz. Greetings, my wonderful friend. For all inquiries regarding the upcoming Jade anniversary of my beloved gallery, no invitation is required. Simply arrive at the door and we will welcome you with open arms. Please note some pieces, including many from Nova Oz, remain on loan to the Good Plains Gallery. As for any other questions about my former partner, I have nothing further to say on the matter. Remember, I asked him about his partner, and he said he's not talking about it. And they loan out the paintings to the Good Plains Gallery, which makes copies of them. I wonder if it's going to turn out that they are in cahoots and that his previous partner is the Good Plains Gallery guy. He's nothing more to say. All right. So I suspect I'm going to ask this guy, Linus Ardell. Let's see. Hey, by the way, now here's how you get people to confess. I'm going to say that Ivory Quartz, that's his name, right? Ivory Quartz? Ivory Quartz mentioned you. He says you were his partner in his collective. Is that true? Yeah, not going to ask him. We're going to tell him that we were told by someone. And just curious. Make it no big deal. Gonna tell him the other guy said they were partners, and let's see if he comes clean about it. Okay. In fact, we might also mention to him, let's see, Rick Quartz also said you have some Nova Oz paintings on loan. Do you remember selling? The one we're not sure about yet is Cataclysm. Cataclysm. Ask him about Cataclysm. In fact, I'm going to ask him about two. Phyllis Browning. Just see if he has any answer to that. All right. And now let's look at our email from Agatha. Hi there. Thanks for getting in touch. We're out of the office for the next few weeks, but please find a pricing list below. That's not very useful, is it? Frames by Agatha, huh? Let me just ask her where she's located. Agatha, I'd like to drop by. Where are you located? Okay. No further replies since then. Interesting. All right. Strange. So I suppose you could argue that we now have the 3 pieces of information we need. Let's recap. 3 pieces of art we're trying to identify are forgeries. The Union was being shown in 1990 at this gallery, at this museum, but Richard Banks bought it several years ago and it's remained in his possession. So this one and the one at the gallery can't be both authentic. Since we trust the museum, we don't trust this one. So, and we know they loan out theirs to this Good Plains. So we think they loaned it out, made a copy and sold to this guy. So that's how we prove that one's fake. This one, we found this signature being reused from this painting. From the email, we found that signature being reused. This is a real photo of the real author, so we suspect that that one is the authentic one. That makes this one a fake. This is our least confident assertion of a forgery, but the main reason we think this is a forgery is that he didn't look like he signed these types when he did these types. I wonder, are we overlooking a signature here that he signed in a very cryptic way somehow, or did he just not sign it really at all? Take a stronger look. Let's see. Is there a signature in there in some form that we're overlooking? Sure doesn't look like it. 1981, 1980. Don't see any signature. So he appeared not to sign these. And then we have this one, which he has signed. We haven't seen any example of this being reused. Do we know when this claims to have been made? I mean, he only made these in the 80s. All right, so these people are not responding anymore. It's interesting that the websites are not responding to me anymore. It's almost as if they've decided that we're not genuine. And Tina says, could we see the website? Maybe it will ask for proof. Okay, let's try it. As long as we don't think we're going to get leaked information. Sorry, just looking through these one last time so that we don't go prematurely to the website. 1976 classic. we should look for any other examples of his signature. Look, we've got a signature here. And one here. No signature on this one. All right, so no further email replies. Let's go on the website and we'll see. We'll see what the questions are. John says, I suspect the email bot just sends one generic email in reply once. It certainly seems like it just replies once and it doesn't reply again. And maybe it doesn't matter what you email them, but we enjoy sending our emails. Okay, so we're going to try to go to this website. What about this? I mean, any ideas about this? Like, why? I wonder if we should ask our guy about Aragon stock. I'm going to email this guy one more time. Yes. Do you guys use... Okay. And then I think maybe I'm going to write... I wonder if we can't... Admin at... do business with... I don't think we're going to get a response to that, but let's try it. The bot knew that we asked about the partner, or it was generic. It was interesting that it did respond, that it mentioned the partner. Okay, let's go to the website now and see if we can't find out. Okay. Okay. Find evidence that confirms all three paintings are fakes and not originals. When you think you've got the right idea, pick a painting and submit your evidence. John says, check Jesse, I heard your email. Bang. Okay, I can't hear it, so I do appreciate that. Let's see. Address not found. Okay, so Aragon stock doesn't respond to email. That's fine. That was a long shot. No one else is responding to us. I mean, former partner, I have nothing further to say. I mean, I guess while I'm here, I'm just going to say, is Linus Ardell your former partner? Guess it can't hurt. He's not answering our emails, but might as well try it. Okay, so all right, so we can do these paintings one at a time. Let's do the ones we're sure about. Let's start with Drew Lee's. Okay. All right, so what's suspicious? Signature, the coloring, the name, the shapes, the material, the style. Okay, so in Drew's case, it was the reuse of the signature that we saw for another one, right? So signature, I don't know what the signature box is biggest, but okay, signature. Correct. There's something suspicious about the signature on Mr. Lee's painting. What could to be? Okay, little typos there. I guess it's supposed to say what could it be. Is it going to ask us now? Okay, what's suspicious about it? We've got two boxes. We could say that it appears there are mistakes. It is faded. The style changes. There are parts missing. Over here we have at the end near the beginning, somewhere else in the wrong place all over. I guess they want us to choose two of these things, but it appears... I see. And Tina is saying the way to tell it that it's been reused is to say it appears somewhere else. That's... I was going to complain about it, but I guess that's what we're trying to say. So I guess the idea of the way they've set up this question is that it won't leak information. Like they don't want a single answer that says it appears somewhere else. They're trying to disguise it so that if you didn't figure out it was reused, you wouldn't figure out what to click here. All right, submit your evidence. Correct. That's it. We've definitely seen the signature somewhere else before, but where? Oh, wow, it actually wants us to say where. So this is interesting how it's really asking us to lock down where we saw it. Okay. Type your answer here. Okay. I guess we're going to say in email from Linus at Good Plains, right? Should we say the name of it? Okay. And which, so it was in this painting that was in 1976 classic, which was called Reflection. All right, so let's say we saw an email from Linus at Good Plains in the painting Reflection. I mean, this is covering all our bases here. And if I spelled everything right, Linus Okay, I think we've covered all our bases. Let's click submit. Yes, it is right. What didn't it like about that? Hmm. You think it's not looking for it? I could try just reflection, but surely it's searching the string for the word reflection. Let's try it. Bingo. Nova has never signed his name the same way twice, but the same signature appears on both Reflection and Home at Last. We know that Reflection is a genuine painting because Novas himself presented it to the gallery, which means Mr. Lee's painting must be a fake. You may now open file B5. Okay, so a little bit buggy website, but close enough. We did figure it out. All right, so now it tells us we can open B5. Before we've solved any of the others, do you think that's because... Okay, well, we know we have another envelope here, B6. Should we open B5 first, or should we go back and try to solve one of the others? I guess we should open B5 first. Sounds like the chat is fed up with me typing my long answers. They're like, Jesse, just put in one word, reflection. Okay. Let's look at B5. Well, what does the chat want to do? Do you want to open up B5 or do you want to go back to the website and try to put in our other proofs? And Tina says B5. Okay. All right, that guy, we found his painting is fake. Let's look at B5. It'll be interesting. Here's a question. Do you think when we open this up, it's going to tell us the story of how we prove it false, or is it going to be more evidence? Let's find out. Nice work catching that phony signature on Mr. Lee's supposed original. 3 different appraisers couldn't put their finger on the problem, but you could. Maybe a backup career to keep in mind. Anyway, Watts asked the lab to lend a hand with the investigation. I got in touch with Mr. Baker and Mrs. Browning and got their so-called art picked up. After a couple of x-rays, we noticed some things. Item 1, the Union painting, which is right here. We spotted a watermark on the paper. Nothing too out of the ordinary, though. Lots of artists use these guys. Item 2, a cataclysm. Only thing we noticed was the ink on the signature was fresher than the rest of the painting. Again, nothing too suspicious. Maybe the artist added it at the end. Can't say for certain whether this means anything, but hey, that's your job. Okay, so this is pretty cool. Look. So, first of all, there's our watermark on a Union. That when they blew it up, they found the watermark. I wonder if we could actually see that watermark. If it actually was available to be spotted here or not. And then for the Browning's painting, the signature in fresh ink. So we already decided that this painting shouldn't have a signature at all. So it sounds like maybe they were having a hard time pawning it off and they added the signature later, maybe. And we have figured out Aragon stock. So one way this would tell us it's a forgery is if Aragon didn't exist yet. Is there a way for us to know that they haven't been out for many years? Going back to the website. Introducing, there it is, established 1975. There's proof that this painting had to exist, couldn't have used this stock before 1975. When was this supposed to have been painted? If it's supposed to have been painted before 1975, then they couldn't very well have used Aragon stock. Now, a union. Okay, where's our brochure? A union, 1968. Looks like Jonathan had the same idea I had. Okay. So now we know that this painting was painted in 68. The version of it looks real. But we know it couldn't have been made, his copy couldn't have been made in 68. Now we decided that this had to be a fake because he couldn't have it at the same time they're showing it. But maybe we wouldn't know then which is the fake and which is original. Just know that both of these can't be real. But now that we've got a watermark on his, whose date is impossible, we now have proof that this one is the forged one. Love it. Okay. And there they are doing the study at the USPIS Forensic Laboratory. Okay, so this one we're not 100% sure that that's proof, but this one we are. Okay, so I think we're ready to prove that this one is a forgery. Right? Everyone on the same page? We're all in agreement? All right. So let's... All right. So we're going to move on to Richard Baker's item and prove that it's fake. Okay, which part of Richard's painting is the most suspicious? I guess we're going to say the material. Let me use my keyboard so you guys can see it. Correct. Something about the material just doesn't add up, but we'll need to be a bit more specific. What's suspicious about it? Okay, it's printed on paper that didn't exist before, that the artist had no access to. That didn't exist before, or that the artist had no access to. Aren't these saying the same thing? I guess it means that. Well, how would you read that answer? Should it be, is it that they're both going to be right, or John says I'd go with didn't exist before. All right. I'm sort of curious to see what it would say if it said it's print on paper that the artist had no access to. Well, let's try this. Correct. Of course, the paper it's printed on was made too recently. Something doesn't add up. What's the earliest year this painting could have been created? So it's wanting more proof that we haven't just stumbled on it. So we're going to say 1975. That was when Ergon stock was founded. Bingo. According to the crime lab, Mr. Baker's painting is printed on Ergon stock paper. This company wasn't established until 1975, but we know that Nova Oz painted a union in 1968, which means Mr. Baker's painting must be a fake. You may now open file B6. All right, so we've proven his is fake. Now we just have the third one. And our last folder of the game, of the case, file B6. Now we're going to be able to lock down the proof that Mrs. Baker has a fake painting. We have to take a break. However, it seems like we're almost done with this case. In fact, I think it'll take us not very long to solve this case. I'll see you in 8 minutes. Okay, we are back. We're about ready to finish this case, I believe. I've got lots of thoughts about this case compared to our previous one. Looks like the thoughts are already coming in on the channel, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're told to open up envelope B6. We've got one more painting to prove is a forgery. Let's open it up. All right, so let's organize our stuff. The person we still have to prove is Miss Browning's. Okay, let's see if we can't help Miss Browning out here. We know the signature is new. We don't think this type of painting should even have a signature, but that's circumstantial. We don't have proof of it. Let's see what we get in B6. The studio of Nova Oz, Oz's home and residence. To whom it may concern, my name is Valor von Zoa. I'm Nova's eldest daughter. Remember, he liked to use well, he liked to, his name was I'm drawing a blank on the name. Anagram. He used Nova Oz as an anagram of von Zoa. Okay, thank you so much for everything you've done so far. When we heard the rumors about Good Plains Gallery, we didn't want to believe it. Looks like we can't stay silent any longer. We want to help, but first I want to be clear. My father had no idea that this was happening. Thankfully, I can prove it. We were told about poor Mr. Baker and his fake 1968 painting. They said it had been reprinted on paper from the late 70s. If so, it simply can't have been my father. You see, he wasn't capable of much by then. He could still paint, thank heavens, but he was too weak to leave the house. We only had family visitors, and it's not like he wrote to anyone. After all, how could he? To help clear his name, I've enclosed notes from his personal physician detailing his health at the time. I've also attached a photo of the two of us just to show that even in his final years, he always knew how to make you smile. Signed, WZ. Everything we see hides another thing. Okay, so we've got a medical report and there's his house. Boy, that's a nice house. That's what you get when you're a surrealistic painter and you strike it. 99.9% of the painters live homeless, and then the 0.1% become millionaires. All right, so look what we're shown here. During this period in the 80s, right before his death, he had to use a big giant brush. That's why he's making these big abstract paintings, and he can barely hold it, so he's not signing his name. So it's exactly what we suspected. He can't leave the house, and he can't sign his name. Whereas look at how tiny this Z is. There's no way he could make that Z in his state, I think is what we're being led to believe. Let's take a look in detail about his medical report. Okay, my name is Dr. Aidan Bensing, and I had the pleasure of being Nova Oz's personal physician during his later years. As per his family request, I have compiled my rough notes from my repeated checkups below. I trust this should be sufficient, Dr. A. Bensing. Right hand and wrists ache after extended painting session. Anti-inflammatories recommended. This was in 1975. 76, pain present in both hands and wrists, less severe in the left. We know he's right-handed, by the way. 1977, trouble sleeping. Sedatives prescribed. Tremors in hands have become apparent. 78, loss of appetite. 79, slowed movement, constant feelings of exhaustion, recommended wheelchair, won't leave the house. Tremors significantly worsening, patient now incapable of writing even his name, still able to create works of art, fascinating. 1981, called to house, health has started to significantly decline, patient unable to maintain long conversations without notable effort. 1981, patient passed away. 10:43 p.m. in the evening. Cause of death suspected to be heart failure. Okay, so it's exactly what we suspected. Let's just take another look at this for a second. So 1980, by 1980, he's not signing anything. 78, he was still signing. This has got me a little confused, though. What's happening here? He signed something in 1980, or is this another forgery? How is he signing this in 80? This 1980, no signature. But this 1980, he signed, and fairly detailed, although he's not writing his full name now. Seems like a little bit of a bug, though. Let's just look at here. September, patient incapable of writing even his name. So I guess we're supposed to believe these are very early 80s, maybe like January 1980 he painted this one. He's still in this style. So sometime in September of 1980 is when he must have transitioned to this stuff. And then the channel is noticing something I saw, that Valor von Zoa signed it. It's not WZ, it's VVZ. Valor von Zoa. So, I mean, we might want to think, is she the forger? But doesn't look like there's any sign that she is. All right, so I think we've narrowed it down. I mean, we've got our proof. We know that this couldn't have been signed by him. We know the signature is a fake. I guess we can't really prove the rest of the painting is, but I think that's good enough. And the only other thing I was wondering is whether we can prove it's Linus that's signing this, but not really. So he does like to slant his signature. It's going to turn out that this is a signature he's used on another painting that we don't have access to, I believe. But he wasn't signing his full name like that for many years. All right. I don't think it's going to be real. No, I don't think it's going to be real. I think the whole point of doing forgery is you don't sell the real ones. The real ones you don't mess with, and you sell at auction. But you never know. Holy cow. Is he painting our painting in the photograph? Holy cow, you're right. You are right. I didn't even see that. I didn't even notice that, but you are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. And not only that, but there's a date here, 10th June, 1981. So this confirms what we intuited the date of this painting. I think this is just meant to tell us, to give us a hard and fast date for this in case we were unsure of its date. Wow, good eye. However, I don't think this might lead you to believe some nefarious involvement of the daughter, but I don't, or that this is the real painting. I don't think this tells us it's real. No, I think that's assuming the wrong information. The still most likely case is that this was a real painting that got really called Cataclysm, that got really sold and put up in galleries, and they've made a copy of it. They've made a copy of it and they've added a signature. There's no reason to think that this is the original. Seems like there's a little bit of a disagreement on the channel. The channel, John says, why would the forger add a signature after the painting and the rest dried? It's an interesting question, but I mean, paint the two scenarios. One scenario is that, think about it for a second. Think about logically for a second. It's a valid question. You're asking a good question. Why would the forger add a signature after painting the rest? But think about it the other way around. He's clearly made and sold and is being shown in galleries these paintings without signatures. This is a real painting that would have gone out and gotten sold. So your only choice is whether you think somehow the Good Plains Gallery, which all they do is get things on loan and copy them, has somehow gotten their hands on an original and risked putting a fake signature on it. That makes no sense. Doesn't it seem more likely that they got this on loan just like all the others, made a copy of it, tried to sell it to their unsuspecting normal people who looked at it and didn't believe that it was by this guy? The pros probably would believe it. A pro, if you showed this painting to without the signature, would say, oh yeah, I know the painting, we can check that it's real. But if you're selling your forgery, it's got to have a signature on it for the normal people to believe it. So I still think the most likely scenario would be, if you're making it realistic, is that they forged it and they couldn't sell it without a signature. So they're just like, put a signature on it. Then we can sell it. Because the normal home buyers aren't going to buy it without a signature. It would make no sense for this company to defile a real one. And also, if it's real, they'd sell it for real. They'd sell it for a lot of money. They wouldn't need to sell it to some person off the internet who doesn't know anything. But maybe you could convince me. But let's go to the website and put in our reasons. I'd like to hear if you disagree with me. If you think that there's a reason why. Okay, so look, the website has updated. I don't know why it didn't update this one to say fake. We already did this one. It appears someone else. Okay. Let's do Victoria. And Tina says also was his okay, let's look up before we do this. Jonathan says, I agree with Jesse. It seems to make no sense for it to be real, but I'm a bit worried from a meta perspective. The game is trying to get us with a trick question. And Tina says, was his daughter in the photo of the gallery? Okay, let's find that photo you're talking about here. Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it. All right, let's go to the website, see what we can do here. If we get a question, we'll talk about it more. Okay, here's Victoria. This turned to fake after we answered it, but now it's gone. All right, here we go. So which part of Mr. Browning's painting is the most suspicious? Is it the name, the shapes, the material, the style, or the coloring? Guess we didn't even look at the name or anything, but we think it's the signature. Correct. The signature looks like the real deal, but something doesn't feel right. What's suspicious about it? Let's see. The artist was, the signature is, the thickness is, the pen, the ink, the placement. Do we think the answer is that the signature is wrong? Or is it the artist was in poor condition? Is that the answer? Feels like some of these are ambiguous, like they would both be saying the same thing. Is what's suspicious that the artist was in poor condition? That's really ambiguous, but I think that's our best answer. But also the signature is wrong. Wouldn't that also be saying the same thing? I believe this is our answer, but I'd be curious what would happen if you say the signature is wrong. All right, we'll do this right, and then we'll try again. Correct. Nova wasn't doing too well at the time this was painted. Could that be a clue? Enter the evidence number that confirms the artist was in poor condition. Well, that's pretty trivial. They're talking about this piece of evidence. Do you think they want this number? I assume they want this number, the evidence number, B6A. This has other numbers on it, though. But I assume they want this. B6A. Let's try that. B6A. Or are they talking about the photo? That's a good point. I suppose if you want to know proof that he was in poor condition at the time it was painted, this is probably a better piece of evidence. But is this really proof he couldn't sign his name, or is this the proof that he can't sign his name? Like, this doesn't really prove that he can't sign his name, right? Here he is holding a paintbrush. So I'm not sure this would prove he can't sign his name. So this evidence is B6B, and this evidence is B6A. Could go either way, really. I mean, obviously, if it doesn't like B6A, we'll try B6B and vice versa. But what's your guess? What is your guess about... It feels like the way this question is phrased, it would be the medical report. But if you just change that question to say, what's the evidence that confirms the artist was in a poor condition at the time of the painting, then I would maybe lean towards the photograph. All right, what's the votes? What do you think? Just for fun. It doesn't really matter because we'll just try another one. But what does the... I think B6B, the photograph, is a more interesting answer. So I'm going to say B6B, but which is Jonathan's observation. But I think we're going to go back and check some of these afterwards to see if it accepts other answers. Just remember that we're doing B6B first. Sorry, Inspector, that doesn't look quite right. Okay, so it didn't like B6B. It wanted surely B6A. Bingo. Although Nova Oz was still able to paint, he became incapable of writing his own name after 1979. We know that Cataclysm was created in the 80s when Nova was no longer able to write his signature, which means that Mr. Browning's painting is at least partially a fake. At least partially. Are we going to find out that it was partially real? Let's continue. So let's talk about what's happened here with this game. It's now confirmed to us that this painting was a fake, and the game has ended. It's pushed us back to this page. That's it. There's no congratulations, you solved it. There's no additional envelope to open. The game has just abruptly hit a dead wall. Yes, you're saying exactly what my next point was going to be. I suspect there is an epilogue, but the game has lost track of the fact that we've solved the other paintings. I believe that that's right. Because you can see this last one's going to be marked as fake. So it feels like somehow the website's lost track of these. So we're going to have to do these again. Okay. Signature, we said, which is correct. It appears somewhere else. Correct. And then this was, the answer to this one was reflection, right? Bingo. Okay, now we open file B5, which we already opened. Okay, so now this is marked as fake. Is it, remember the other one was fake? Yes. Okay, so now we got to do this one again. Okay, and this one was the material. Correct. Painted on paper, printed on paper that didn't exist before. Correct. 1975. Bingo. You now open B6. Okay, so here we are. All three have been made fake. I guess now we click continue. Aha. Okay, so we do have an epilogue here. Brilliant work, Inspector. You've proven that each of the three paintings were fakes just as we suspected. There's no doubt that there's something shady going on at Good Plains Gallery. Now we just need to prove that the gallery were in on it from the beginning. We've called in a favor from the New Jersey Police Department. They've sent 2 undercover detectives into the gallery to see if they could find anything interesting. Here's a short recording of their visit. Who knows, maybe you'll find something useful. All right, so it looks like we've got something more to do. We're going to get to play an audio file, a 5-minute long audio file. So let's get ready to take any notes. I will try to get my audio working. Okay, let's see if I can do that. This never works on the first try, but we'll give it a try.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How can I help you today?
Hey there, how you doing? Me and my friend here, we've been thinking about purchasing some art.
Oh, is that right?
Well, here's the thing. We're walking down the street the other day and we're talking about investments, right? You know, making money.
That's right. This dummy's got everything locked away in gold coins.
Hey, I'm telling you, stop laughing at my coins.
Anyway, we got talking about art. My brother, he bought some fancy painting about 10 years back, spent about 2 G's on it, and now it's worth at least 20. And look, guy, I ain't no schmuck. If there's money to be made in this stuff, I want in. So we got talking about it, and here we are.
Well, gentlemen, let me tell you, you're making the right decision, and you've come to the right place. Did you have anything in mind?
Well, my brother, the one with all the new money, he said he got rich off some artist called Nova Oz. Am I saying that right?
You certainly are. As a matter of fact, I've got some nice pieces from him on display right through here. Come with me. John, I'm going to take these nice gentlemen through to viewing room B. Will you watch the desk? Thanks. So, your brother sounds like a smart man. Any chance you might remember the name of his painting?
Yeah, he showed it to me. But I'm not good with this stuff. It was that one of the guy with flowers coming out of his neck. That ring any bells?
Ah, yes. The Forbidden Audience. It's a classic. Your brother made a good decision.
Well, I want something even better.
Hey, tell him about the original thing.
Yeah, that's right. It's gotta be an original. That's what he told me.
Not to worry, gentlemen. I think this could be just the thing.
Holy moly! This it?
Yes, it is. This is an original piece painted by Nova Oz in 1979, a time that many consider to be his finest. It's called An Illustrious Accident, and is supposed to reflect the different obstacles life can throw at us. You notice the shades of pink scattered across the paintings? Well, those are said to be the struggles the artist faced, and the lessons he learned along the way.
Jeez, Paulie, that ain't bad.
Hey, keep it cool. Looks like a pretty picture, bud. How much does one of these go for?
Sir, this is a one-of-a-kind. A Nova Oz original. Usually, this would sell on the market for up to $12,000. Today, we might be able to do you a special offer of 11.
Okay, not bad. Let's see what else you got.
Of course. Right this way.
Sure got a lot of art here, don't you?
We're one of the largest art distributors in the United States. Each piece is meticulously selected and suited for each customer. We take art extremely seriously.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Now this, gentlemen, is something truly special.
Wow. What are we looking at here?
This here is another originals of Nova's, dating back to the 1973. It's called Stairway, and it's said to represent the journey we all go through in life. We have the hero of our painting approaching on the water. He's met with a steep journey. Or could it be a fork in the road? Who's to say? In any case, it truly is a beauty.
Whew. How much we talking?
Well, sir, just like before, this is a real original. The only one of its kind. Nova hand-painted this one personally, and it got snapped up right away by the gallery. If we were going to part with it, we'd be looking at the region of $18,000 at the very least.
That's a lot of money, Paulie. Yeah, but there's something about this one, ain't there? Look at the shading on those stairs. I ain't no art collector, but it's something.
Indeed it is. Should I accompany you to the sales department?
Nah, you're good, bud. This is something I gotta think over. Give me a couple days, huh?
Of course, I quite understand. Allow me to see you both out.
Well, thanks a lot, buddy. Yeah, see you next time.
Okay, cute. So if we look at the web page, it's a little hard to read that text down at the bottom, but it says, find further evidence that the Good Plains Gallery were intentionally misleading their customers. Okay. And then the chat has figured it out, which is that the painting the woman has, the one with the boat and the stairs? And John says, I believe so. Yes, I think that's right. So I've made my notes here. They showed him two paintings. One was 1979 Illustrious Accident, pink scattered around, and the other was 1973 Stairway, a man approaching a steep journey. They got it right away, and look at the stair shading. So let's take a look at what Minerva tells us about that painting. She says, back in 1973, she commissioned an original piece from him. We met in person. She doesn't actually say that she didn't sell it, though. So how do we know she didn't sell it? This is clearly her painting. He does say we snapped it up right away, but it would be nice if, I mean, clearly, surely she wouldn't have sold it, and we don't think, but sure would be nice for her to confirm it. I suppose that even if she sold it, she wouldn't have sold it right away, whereas this guy seems to imply that they got it right away. Let's see. Does she say in detail somewhere else that she didn't sell it? I myself once commissioned a piece from him and had to go pick it up. She doesn't say she didn't sell it though. Doesn't she say she's loaned it? All right, I would like to find that. Let's see. She doesn't say she loaned it here, nor here. Here's her office. It's not hanging on the wall. So do you think, and Tina says, no, I just misremembered. Okay, so we don't know for sure that hasn't sold it, but it seems like she wouldn't sell it right away, which makes this guy possibly lying. What about Illustrious Accident? There's no painting illustrious accident in our thing. So, I mean, it seems very clear. Jonathan says, is it implying that Nova was in on the forgeries? No. Tina says, I don't think she would have sold it. Can we see again her letter? I'm disagreeing with your conclusions, and I'll explain why. Don't forget how the gallery is getting all of these. They're getting loaned out. Like this painting owned by Minerva still would get loaned out to museums and galleries for showings. So our forgers are borrowing these paintings from, they're having a showing, so they're getting these paintings on loan. So I don't think it implies that anyone was in on any forgery. It just tells us that they've seen a copy of Minerva's, they've seen Minerva's painting. Either they borrowed it to have a showing in one of their galleries, and then they copied it. And so I think, although this woman could have sold this to the gallery is implying that they've had it since right when it was made. And that is obviously a lie. So I think we've got our answer. So let's go to the website. Let's click continue here and see if we can prove it. Okay. Which piece of evidence, when combined with the undercover recording, proves that Good Plains galleries were intentionally lying to their customers? Okay, so I think the answer, therefore, is this document B4D. So B4D, I think that's got to be the evidence. Submit your evidence. Bingo. No question about it, that gallery owner was describing Minerva Bloom's beloved painting Stairway. We know for a fact that Nova Oz sold his original to Minerva, not to the Good Plains Gallery. Sounds like they're trying to shift another fake painting as if it's an original again. This is great work, Detective. We should have all we need to bring these Good Plains goons down for good. Excellent work, Detective. Thanks to you, we've managed to pull the plug on the whole Good Plains operation. Mr. Lee, Mr. Baker, and Mrs. Browning all send their thanks, as do hundreds of other hoodwinked customers. And this is how it really happened. In 1991, Postal Inspector Jack Ellis led a team of postal workers and undercover detectives to crack $1 billion art forgery ring led by Leon Amiel. Over the years, Amiel had forged paintings and sent them through the U.S. postal system, passing them off as the real thing. The case required the purchase of 22 different counterfeit works, which were then analyzed by detectives and renowned art experts. It all culminated in the seizure of over 100,000 supposed originals from artists like Salvador Dali, Joan Miro, Pablo Picasso. In the end, every piece was determined to be bogus art, thus the name Operation Bogus Art, Operation Bogart. And there you have it. There is our complete epilogue of the case, and that's it. So we finished case 1 and 2. I kind of wanted to see what would happen if we tried to answer differently, but it doesn't want us to. So if you go away from this page and come back, it forgets everything. I wanted to see what happens if you say the signature, and then instead of saying the artist was in poor condition, if we said the signature is wrong. Maybe they take that to mean, let's see if you submit that. No, it doesn't like that. Okay. All right, so what we'll do now is we'll take our 5-minute break. We'll come back and discuss the case. I want to hear your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, what you've thought of case 2 compared to case 1, what you think of this system. Do you feel better? Has it gotten better than our first case? Are you willing to try case 3? We'll come back in 5 minutes and give our final thoughts. Okay, time to talk about case 2 in True Crime Stories. Let's look at what the chat has to say. And Tina says, I wasn't actively watching and participating in case 1, so I can't compare. I watched it afterwards. I think this one is better. I don't think it was that more difficult. John says, overall, very solid case, unique theme, great art, documents. I'm not sure I agree with their difficulty ratings. This one seemed more straightforward than case 1. Maybe I was more distracted in case 1. And Tina says, didn't solve the mystery of the last painting, which I still think was an original for the buyer's sake. Definitely would play the next one. Jonathan says, the online component still did not really win me over. Don't really feel the email bot was needed. Just something they need to maintain. The audio recording was nice. John says, I like the pick 2 halves of a sentence answer system. Maybe there were some translation errors, though. And Tina says, nice red herring about the frames. Nice art. They had to make a lot of new art, and it was all interesting and tied with the case. Jonathan says, a nitpick, I feel the final bit about the signature being painted later was a bit confusing for maybe unintended reasons. I sort of wish it had been clearer if the author had loaned the painting. These are all great points. Let me start with the overall feel of this case compared to the previous one and sort of the style of this box so far. This was a very enjoyable experience. Now, it's only taken us 3 hours to play through it. I think it was not harder than case 1, but it was absolutely more engaging than case 1, and it was fun to be in this world and be working on this case. And I think to some degree, even when a mystery is not that hard or difficult, if the process is enjoyable, then a lot of sins can be forgiven. And this was just a very enjoyable case. And I think if there's one strong suit to this box of cases, it's that they really are making a serious effort to make us sort of immersed in this world. And this idea that we've got the case opened up with these 3 people that had been possibly swindled. We got to hear from all of them. They all have their different personalities. We can see a picture of each of them, right? Each buyer. We got a picture of them, a nice, humorous transcript. And we got to see the painting that they bought. And lots of extra little flavor, bunch of pictures that are just there for immersion, just there for fun, but they are effective. They make us feel like these are real people that we kind of are interested in. And the amount of work that went into preparing, as Antina said, all of these different paintings. I mean, that is an impressive amount of work that went in to making us feel like this was real. And this stylized page, I mean, this is a serious amount of work that went in. Look at this linen printed poster. I mean, it's not serving a functional purpose except to the extent that it really makes us believe we're in this world dealing with this real, true life sort of forgery. And it's very effective. And I think I'd go even further. I think I would say that this case really does suggest that you could make a whole series of mystery games based on uncovering forgeries. And that is a rich setting, a rich playground for a detective game. Forgeries actually is a very attractive setting for mystery game that we've not seen. Occasionally you'll get a game where there's a document and figuring out that it's not real is a element of the game. I believe this is the first full case that we've played on this channel that really completely revolves around the idea of detecting forgeries. And I think what we've seen here is that's a rich playground. Figuring out different ways that something might be a forgery based on time period, material, signatures. That worked very well here, and you could see how you could make a whole series of cases. In fact, you could make a detective whose whole specialty was uncovering forgeries, where all of his cases or her cases had to do with proving forgeries. It makes me think about High and Low set in New York City. Could you have a detective series of cases with detective who's just a forensic forgery specialist? I think it's a very rich area for making cases. So, okay, so there's that. I do think, again, the website is sort of the weak part here, although there's some bugs in it. There were some bugs in it remembering what we had solved. There were questions with answers that were ambiguous and unclear, but nothing so bad that we couldn't figure out what was going on. So I don't think they aren't critical bugs. They aren't serious, but they feel like maybe it was a little rushed out. I do think those email bots are going to not be supported in 5 years, and they seem unnecessary. Each email just looks like it probably sends you a reply. It doesn't matter what you type. So maybe they'd be better off just saying, we've played some of these games where you just sign on to your account and you see the emails on the website. That's probably would have been easier to do here. But they're not without their charm. I mean, the fact that we got the fact that we went to that one website of the printer and we were like, what do we do with this? It's useless to us. But then later we got the information that required us to figure out that the date that they were established was an answer. That was pretty clever. And the 5-minute audio was well done, well acted, and cool. Wasn't especially difficult, but it was fun. I think they also did something really quite well. And Jonathan, I think, pointed out that the instructions were, again, a little bit failure. It says, find evidence that confirms all 3 paintings are fake. Okay, once you think you've got something, head over. So maybe it would have been, first of all, this is weird, your first mission. This wasn't our first mission. This is the entirety of our mission, I guess. I guess at the end it asks us to prove that the gallery is in on it. But it might have been nicer to say something like, go here when you figure out one of the paintings is fake. But what I was going to say is I do think that was actually one of the successes of this case, was that we're presented with 3 paintings, and it's clear what the authors had in mind, and it worked, was that we looked at those 3 paintings and we actually thought we came up with reasons why all 3 would be fake forgeries. But being a little more precise, what we came up with was proof that one was forged, and strong suspicions that the other 2 were forged. And I think the game played fair with us in deciding that there was only really one that we had hard evidence for. And so having answered that one, we got a little bit more evidence that only let us pick one of the two that were forged. And then having gotten that one, we got the final evidence for the third. It has that element that you see sometimes with Deadbolt Mystery Society and some other games, which is really fun with these document dump games, which is you've got little bits of evidence on these different pieces. And part of the challenge is figuring out which is the one that you've really nailed down that you can proceed on. And once you figure out that, you'll unlock some more evidence. And I think that really worked here. And the questions that make you prove it. So this game really makes you prove when you answer a thing. That actually, even though we've got some complaints about how it was done, that actually works well here, because you could see a group trying to answer this question, right? Like if we had decided, okay, this shouldn't have a signature, right? So if we had tried to go to that first, we wouldn't have been able to prove it. We would have guessed maybe that the signature is wrong, but then when the game said, well, how can you prove he couldn't sign it? We wouldn't know the answer to that yet. So that actually was done quite well here, so that there was only one really painting that we at the beginning could prove, and then we progressed through. And I think that's fun, because not only are you figuring out how to prove it, you're figuring out which one do I have the best evidence on, and doing that in order. And that was actually well done. And it made sense that like after we found one, then we got forensics, little pieces of the other two. So there was really only one path through these that you were going to be able to justify doing. You couldn't do them in different order, although it created the illusion that you could do them in whatever order. And I think that was pretty good. And Tina says, I like the fact that these cases are real. Yeah, I think it does add a little bit to it. Yeah, so I would absolutely play the third case. In fact, maybe we'll play it tomorrow or Saturday. What does the chat think about tomorrow or Saturday for playing the third case? I'm just impressed by the work that went into these components and the fact that they've picked a totally different style. This is just not, we don't see this in these games. We don't see so much hand-done art. And I like the proving of the evidence. I like all the effort made into making this immersive experience. I wish some of the questions were a little better and more subtle. I would have liked it to be a little bit harder. Like the point about the end, about proving that he can't sign his name. It's just a little too obvious. And the biggest thing for me is this idea that forgery really seems like you could use that for a whole series of cases. A detective that specializes in detecting forgeries. Seems like that is really ripe for some interesting evidence-based stuff. John says, I think tomorrow would work. Well, we'll talk about it on the Discord and on the BGG Guild, but I think tomorrow or Saturday might be nice to get this third case played. See what a hard case is. Okay. Well, I had a blast. Good teamwork this time. I started missing some stuff. People spotted stuff I didn't. There were some subtle things here, like the fact that he was painting this in the wheelchair. Some pretty cool stuff. Good teamwork. Good work. Fun case. You can't ask for too much more than that. I'll see you all tomorrow, or if not, no later than Sunday for the live Q&A. I'd love to see you there. If you've got questions for me before that, you can post them on the Board Game Geek Guild or in the YouTube community tab post I made. Maybe I'll see you all tomorrow or Saturday. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.